Real Madrid were crowned champions of Europe for the 15th time in their history and for the 6th time in the last 10 years after a 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund at Wembley on Saturday. Carlo Ancelotti lifted the famous trophy for the 5th time as a manager, to add to his two as a player. Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, Nacho Fernandez, and Dani Carvajal won the competition for the 6th time, equaling the record held by Paco Gento, who played 600 games for Madrid between 1953 and 1971. Dortmund, who had defied the odds to make it to the final, had the chances to win this match, but in the end, the occasion seemed to have got to them. Statistically, it was very much a game of two halves. The first period belonged to the German side, as they stifled Madrid and created some clear cut chances. After Ancelotti's eyebrow raise at the break, however, the Galacticos came out much stronger. A lot of Madrid's chances came in the final 20 minutes of the game, as did their two goals. We'll take a look at how both the teams played, but in the end, it was a set piece and an individual error that made all the difference. For Dortmund, Edin Terzic went with the same lineup that started both the semi-final matches against Paris Saint-Germain in their familiar 4-2-3-1 setup. Ancelotti took the decision to start Thibaut Courtois in goal, despite the Belgian missing the earlier part of the Champions League campaign with a knee injury. He had only made his return to the team in early May and hadn't conceded a single goal in 4 games going into this one. He was also the man of the match in the 2022 final when Madrid beat Liverpool, and there are few better in the world than Courtois in such high pressure games. Other than that, the team was pretty much as expected, with the only change from the previous rounds being the inclusion of Eduardo Camavinga in place of the injured Aurelian Chouameni. The La Liga champions dominated possession in the first half, and we saw some familiar patterns. Toni Kroos, playing in his final game for the club, dropped into the backline to dictate play, with Madrid looking to get the ball to Vinicius Jr. on the left wing whenever they could. For most parts in the opening period, however, Julian Rierson did really well to not let the Brazilian get past him. With Ferland Mendy not offering himself on the overlap, Jadon Sancho was able to double up with his right back whenever Vinicius was on the ball, as we see here. In this instance, it is Rodrigo who turns up on the left flank, and once again, Sancho and Rierson are there to make sure he isn't able to get a free run. Dortmund defended in a 4-1-4-1 shape and tended to overload the side through which Madrid looked to progress. We hence saw a lot of switches in play, most notably from Kroos. A few openings for Ancelotti's side thereby came on the right in the first half. Fede Valverde's positioning in the game was top class as usual. While the Uruguayan could also drop deep to receive based on the situation, he stayed well forward on most occasions, engaging the Dortmund left back Ian Martson. Carvajal also bombed on from right back, and Madrid looked to create overloads on this flank with switches in play. Dortmund here are clustered on the left hand side, and it takes only one pass from Kroos to Carvajal to create a 2 versus 1 against Martson, with Karim Adeyemi unable to get back in time. Here, further up the pitch, both Vinicius and Rodrigo are on the left, and the former tries to cross to the back post, where Carvajal is unmarked. The Brazilian's delivery is underhit, however, and Martson is able to clear. For all their domination of the ball, Madrid were unable to break through a compact and disciplined Dortmund outfit. In the first half, the Spanish side didn't have a single shot on target. There were hardly any of the trademark crosses and cutbacks into the box, and Jude Bellingham had just one touch inside the opposition penalty area. In this infographic, Madrid are attacking from right to left. We see all this here in the players' average positions in the first half. Kroos, the number 8, dropping into the back line, Carvajal and Valverde, 2 and 15 respectively, high up the pitch on the right, Bellingham, the number 5, being much deeper than he would have liked to be, and the number 7, Vinicius Jr., isolated on the left. At the other end, The movement of Niklas Füllkrug was giving the Madrid backline a lot of problems. When the Galacticos pressed high, the long ball to the big man up front was always on, with the Germans' fantastic aerial ability. In attack, he could drop back and pull a centre back with him to allow one of the wingers to run in behind. In the 19th minute, this scenario created Dortmund's best chance of the game. Fulkrug drops deep into midfield, and while Nacho doesn't go all the way, his attention is very much on the centre forward. Watch Adeyemi start to burst in behind at the top right. The ball from Mats Hummels with his weaker left foot is absolutely perfect, and Dortmund are through on goal. The forward, though, can't make his mind up quickly, takes the ball too wide, and Carvajal is able to recover and block the shot. This brought flashbacks from the FA Cup semi final between Chelsea and Manchester City, when Nicholas Jackson failed to score from a similar position at the same end at Wembley. Fulkrug, while not the paciest striker in the world, could also make the run in behind, as he does here. While the German may have been slightly offside, the flag stays down as he squares the ball to Julian Brandt, whose shot flashes wide. The third notable chance of the half for Dortmund came on the counter-attack. With Madrid caught upfield, Brandt played Adeyemi through. Antonio Rudiger did really well to make up ground and put pressure, but the 22-year-old was still able to get his effort away. Courtois was called into action, saving at full stretch. The rebound could have easily fallen to Fulkrug to head into an empty net, but it was just behind him. Dortmund also hit the post when Martsen stopped a Real Madrid counter-attack by robbing Camavinga before driving on and slipping the ball through to Fulkrug. The striker's effort on the stretch beat Courtois but came back off the upright. Once again, though, Fulkrug was probably just a few inches offside. On the few occasions that Dortmund did have the ball and looked to build, we saw Martsen inverting into midfield alongside Marcel Zavitzer, with Emre Can dropping in between Hummels and Nico Schlotterbeck to form a back three. Rierson pushed forward to provide width on the right, with Jadon Sancho tucking in. Here, we see how Kamavinga and Kroos are both drawn to the double pivot, and Chan is able to play the ball between the lines to Brandt, who is able to collect and turn. Despite having such a good half in every aspect, Dortmund didn't have anything to show for it. The swing in momentum in Madrid's favour always comes, especially in the Champions League, and not scoring whilst on top in the game is a fatal error to make. Unsurprisingly, Ancelotti's men came out in the second half with a different figure. Gregor Kobel was called into action for the first time in the game just a couple of minutes into the second 45, sprawling across his goal to push away a free kick from Kroos. From the ensuing corner, there was a free header that fell to Carvajal, but the fullback's effort went over the bar. This was a warning sign for Dortmund, which they didn't heed, as we'll see later on. For about the next 15 minutes, the Germans dominated possession, building in the same 3-2-5 structure from the first half. Madrid were camped in their own half, at times playing in a 5-4-1, with Vinicius being pushed back by Rierson's presence on the right flank. Here, with Rudiger drawn to Brandt, Schlotterbeck picks out Fulkrug up front. The striker could have taken the ball forward and had a shot himself, but instead chose to cut back and set up Martsen on the edge of the box. The Dutchman's effort, with his weaker right foot amidst pressure from Kamavinga, deflected wide for a corner. Courtois was once again called into action on 63 minutes when Adeyemi crossed for Fulkrug, whose effort was straight at the goalkeeper. Once again, the striker should have probably done better. For Real Madrid, a shift in momentum is usually not followed by a personnel or tactical switch, but rather by an individual piece of brilliance that gets the whole team up. In the space of 2 minutes, on the opposite flanks, Vinicius and Rodrigo displayed exceptional skill to beat two markers and win corners for their side. And just like that, the tide turned. On 69 minutes, Bellingham should have scored, but failed to make contact with a Vinicius cross, despite getting to the ball ahead of Kobel. With 18 minutes to go, Marco Reus came on for his 429th and last appearance in a Dortmund shirt. He would have dreamt of coming on and scoring the winner, but just 2 minutes after he was on the pitch, it turned into a nightmare. You would think that forewarned is forearmed, but Carvajal was once again allowed to get a free header at goal from a corner. This time, the Spaniard made no mistake with the finish. On the line, Hummels tried in desperation to come up with a Luis Suarez esque save with his hand, but was unable to do so. Once 1-0 up, Madrid were completely unstoppable. In the next 10 minutes, they had 5 shots on goal, with Kobel needing to be at his best to deny Kroos, Camavinga, and Nacho. Dortmund were visibly shaken, and an error by Matson with 7 minutes to go sealed their fate. The Chelsea loanee played a loose pass towards the centre of the pitch, and Bellingham was quick to intercept. The pass to Vinicius was assured, as was the finish from the Brazilian. In the end, Madrid ended the game with a swagger and a poise that is reserved exclusively for them in this competition. Terzic and his players will know, though, that on another day, this could have turned out very differently.